Hi. Um, I am making this video as a public apology to Chase. Um, Chase, I have been looking through your videos. I stumbled across your Trans Enough project and started talking to a few of my friends who identify as genderqueer or androgynous or um, otherwise non-binary. And so please don't think that I hate on all non-binary people because I don't. I you know I have several friends that identify that way. It's not my personal way that I identify, but that's them, and they have their life, and I have mine, and that's fine. Um, but your video on the Trans Enough project actually got me to do a lot of soul searching, and you're right. Um, there is no such thing as trans enough. Um, how a person feels is how they feel. And they should be able to identify any way they want. Now, along with this, though, I do have a disclaimer. Just because you identify how you want does not mean that other people have to accept you. And that just goes along with the territory of being trans, in my opinion. Or anything, really. But within the trans community, let's put it that way. Um, no matter how you see yourself, if it's against the gender norm, there are going to be people who don't accept you. It's just going to happen. And it's one of those things that you have to be willing and ready to defend and possibly defend for the rest of your life. The thing is, though, is that there are binary identified trans people, and they exist on that same spectrum. So if you want the acceptance and tolerance for being non-binary identified, then you need to give the people who do identify on the extreme end of that spectrum the same respect. And, you know, the non-binary identified people wouldn't have as much of the awareness as they do right now if it weren't for the binary identified trans people, or transsexuals anyway, who came out first. Like, they kind of, set that path in motion, and to then turn around and be like, I'm non-binary, and so screw you. Now the binary needs to be destroyed. That can be hurtful. That can be hurtful to people who do identify on a gender binary. It's basically like saying, well, thanks for setting, everything in motion for us. Now go screw yourself. And in that regard, I can see why binary identified people can be very upset with that. Please stop trying to destroy the gender binary. Some people are okay with it. Some people identify with it. That's how they identify, and they should have just as much right and just as much validity to identify in that way as you do in yours. Now, if you want to be somewhere on that spectrum, in terms of binary, non-binary, masculine, feminine, whatever, that masculinity and femininity, in my opinion, does not determine gender identity, because there are masculine women and there are feminine men, whether bio, cisgendered, or trans. So that should not be a determining factor. Um, but please understand that just because a person who might be trans might identify as masculine and 100% male, does not mean that they are somehow more wrong or invalid than a person who, is non-binary and doesn't identify as 100% male. Just because that's your experience does not mean that binary identified person's experience is somehow more wrong or less than, or that they're closed-minded, because that's simply not true. That puts you on no better of a scale than, say, gays and lesbians who hate on all straight people because they don't understand them, or you know non-religious people hating on all Christians because they think they're closed-minded, when you haven't even given the people on the side that you're opposing a chance to understand you. When you approach them from an automatic defensive attitude, they're going to see you as extremist and angry. And they're not going to take the time to get to understand you, because you've already put up a wall. And, you kind of shut them out as them being, they don't know what they're talking about, or they don't know what they're doing. I am a binary identified trans guy. I am okay with that. My identity is male. I have gone from female to male. However, in your video, when you're talking about being trans enough, I have went through some of those stages myself. Even now, there are still times where I don't feel like I'm trans enough compared to other people. Yes, I am 100% male identified, but that doesn't mean that I am 100% masculine male identified or heterosexual male identified. So yeah, some of those things that was mentioned, like, still liking guys, or, exhibiting stereotypical female behavior, still do some of those things. That's not going to change. That's who I am. That's what makes me happy. That's how I'm comfortable. But please, if you want respect for your identity, you gotta stop hating on other people's. And that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do, is by understanding the non-binaries and, kind of offering the peace branch here. But in order for us to understand each other, the defensive walls have to come down. So I do respect you, Chase. I do. And I'm glad that you are doing what you're doing and helping other um, questioning people come to decisions about themselves, whether or not they transition or not. The main goal should be to love yourself, and I think that's what you're trying to do. And so for that, I respect it. I really do. Um, but that's what I want to say. So again, I apologize for all the hateful and hurtful comments that I have made. I have kind of been newly reawakened, and I hope that you can give people like myself as much respect as I am trying to offer to you. Hopefully we can learn and understand from each other. So that's all I wanted to say.